Hey students, today I am making a video on the remaining portion for the lesson 2 federalism for your political science portion for your EVA 1, and today I am going to cover the topic coming together and holding together federations. Okay, so to begin with, I am going to share my screen. Okay, I'm sharing the lesson first. I'll just do a recap of what all we have covered in the previous class. In the previous classes, we had looked at the definition of federalism, okay? And we also observed the map of the federal countries in the world. We learned that federalism is a system, is a form of power sharing, wherein in which the power is divided between central and various constituent units, like the central government, state government, and the local government. In India, we have three tiers. In most of the countries, there are two tiers. If a country is a federal country, it has a minimum of two tiers. It's clearly mentioned over here. Usually, a federation has two levels of government. Apart from that, we learned that we made a comparison between the federal countries and the unitary form of government. As the lesson began with the example of Belgium and Sri Lanka, Belgium, from being a unitary form of government, it became a federal country wherein it shared its power. Some of the powers from the central government were given to the state level government and the community government. Okay, so here the first paragraph is discussing the difference between the federation, the federal form of government, and unitary form of government. On one hand, the unitary system either has only one level of, on one hand, it has a one level of government. On the other hand, federal government has more than two or more levels of government. The central government in a federal form of power sharing can pass on orders to the provincial or local governments which have no powers. All the laws, all the decisions are taken by the central government. Whereas in a federal system, the central government cannot order the state government to do something. State government has the powers of its own for which it is not answerable to the central government. Both these governments can separately answerable to people. For example, in our country, central government, we are the citizens of India, and the central government is answerable to us as citizens of India. We also are the citizens of the state of Maharashtra. So the state of Maharashtra is also, the government is also answerable to the people of the domicile, those people who are the domicile of Maharashtra. I gave you this example in the previous class. Okay, now here one activity question was asked if federalism works only in big countries. So this also I had discussed that federalism everywhere in our society, from being a smallest unit to the biggest of countries, conflicts are everywhere. And whichever countries are following a federal system, they can do a better conflict resolution, because in federalism power is divided, delegated, and shared. And because of that, when people feel accommodated, it eventually leads to peace and prosperity, because when people feel accommodated, they stay united together, as it is explained in the 7 features of federalism, which I covered in the previous class. That in a federal country, there are, for this I made a mind map also for you, that there are 2 or more levels of government, that different tiers of government govern the same citizen. This was explained in the previous example about India, that we are the citizens of India, but then we are also the domicile of Maharashtra, which is one of the states of India. So there is a separate jurisdiction for the central government, for them, the political boundary of India, and the jurisdiction for the state of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, or any other state of India will be their political boundary, as it has explained in the it is explained in the definition of jurisdiction, the area cover over which someone has legal authority. The area may be defined in terms of geographical or cultural forms, okay, as it is explained here in the definition. Okay, then third point was the jurisdictions of the respective levels of tiers of government are specified in the constitution. The fourth point that we covered was the fundamental provisions of the constitutions cannot be unilaterally changed. This also we discussed. Mutually, no government, but the central government cannot tell the state government to change any rules of the federal system, because it is specified in the constitution. Fifth is the is the point about in case if there is a conflict between the central and the state government and the local government, the courts have the power to interpret the constitution and resolve the conflicts between the three tiers of the government. Okay. Sixth point is about the sources of revenue for each level is clearly defined between the all tiers of government, whether it is states, central, state, and local government. Okay, now here the last feature is the dual objective, which I had also explained to you in the last class, that the federal system has a dual objective to safeguard and promote the unity of the country while at the same time accommodate regional diversity. So when we accommodate the people, see here, this is the thing here we were talking about, when we accommodate everyone, eventually everyone, when they feel equal treatment is there in the society, then eventually people, they stay united, and when they stay united, there will be less conflicts. When less conflicts are there, it will lead to development and progress of the country. Okay, so here all these are the features of federalism. Now we are proceeding to the next topic, which I could not cover in the previous class. It is the four types of federations. Okay, in the first page of the lesson, as we can see here, children, 25 of the world's 193 countries, as given in your map, are federal in nature. But it does not mean that all countries are following the same kind of federalism, because all countries have a different political system. They have a different political party system. They have a different administrative system being followed in their countries. For example, India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, whereas America is a republican form of government. China is a Republic of China. Okay, then we have, but all these countries are following democratic, they have democracies, but they are different kinds of democracies. Okay, India is a parliamentary, or we can say representative form of democracy. Switzerland is a direct democracy, right? America, we have, it is a republican form of government, so they are also a republican form of democracy. Democracy is there also. Then we have, in United Kingdom, it is being a constitutional democracy, a constitutional monarchy. They have a parliamentary form of democracy also there in United Kingdom, right? So all these countries are the ones marked in the red color. They all have federalism, but the federalism is of mainly two kinds. In this class, we're going to learn about two kinds of federalism. Okay, so here are the examples. So I'm just going to share my screen of my PPT here to explain it better. Okay. So here, when we are going to talk about the coming together and holding together federation, there are two types of federal countries in the world. One is known as the coming together federation, and the other is known as holding together federation. Now, how is a coming together for what is a coming together federation? Is a federation wherein independent states voluntarily unite to form a larger unit. I had given in the last class, I had given one example of the United Arab Emirates, right? They are Emirates. It's a combination of 7 Emirates. The meaning of the word Emirate is kingdom. So all 7 states have voluntarily come together as a federal unit, and all are equal in power. It is not that one state has more power, one of the Emirates has more power and the other is less. No, they all are independent, and they all voluntarily they have decided to unite with each other to form a bigger country, that is United Arab Emirates, right? Similarly, here America is also a country in which voluntarily all 50 states have united to form a larger unit. Whereas when we look at India, India is a holding together federation, because India is again a very large country. Here also consent of the different states was taken, but some of them have some special powers. Okay, so India is a large country wherein, as it is defined over here, how it has formed, it decides to divide its power between the center and the states. But here, all the states don't have equal powers. Okay. Now, if we look at the objective, it is to increase why they have decided to come together in case of coming together federation, it to increase their security by pooling sovereignty and retaining their identity. Now, when we are talking about pooling sovereignty, it means the people by their own choice. The countries by their own choice are coming together, but it does not mean that they will lose their identity. Their identity will remain intact, but they all have come together as united one country and a nation state. The nation state that is a country, it is a federation which has so many different countries which have come together willingly to be called as a united federation. Whereas in the holding together federation, the main idea is to accommodate the diversity and manage a large country effectively. Now, children, when we are talking about accommodating diversity, if we are looking at any country in the world, everywhere we will find that some people are in majority and some people are in minority. So when we say accommodate diversity, India is a country where more than 1,300 languages are spoken. India is a country where there are so many, 28 states are there, right? So many states, different people, so many ethnic people of different ethnic groups speaking different languages, have a different culture. Okay, some of them are more in number, some of them are lesser in number. If we look at religion wise, we find a lot of diversity, but some of them are more in number, while some people of different religions are lesser in number. But then it does not mean that they all will not be treated equally. So to ensure that everyone feels accommodated, valued, and accepted in the society, it is very important to accommodate them. So some states in India, for example, earlier as per the Article 370, earlier, Jammu Kashmir was given a special state status, even being a part of India. Similarly, the seven sister states, as per the Article 371, they were given special status. What was the special status? The special status was primarily given to safeguard their own culture, their people, their income opportunity, their employment opportunity. Why? Because if those who are already are developed, those people who are already are rich, they will go over there, they start setting up their businesses, then what will happen to the local people? So the reason why some states in India are given some special status has been given to them, and it is mentioned in the Constitution of India to accommodate them and to safeguard their ethnicity, to safeguard their culture, to safeguard their people's rights, to safeguard their economy, okay, and the employability. Okay, so India is a holding together federation wherein here we can see that all the states have unequal powers. Whereas in America, all the states, they have pooled together their sovereignty and they are retaining their identity. So they all have equal power. So power distribution, the third point, constituent states usually have equal power in a coming together federation. Whereas in a holding together federation, the central government is typically more powerful and all states don't have equal powers. Some states have some special powers while the others are not having that kind of power. Okay, and in the holding together federation, the central government is typically more power than the states, whereas this is not the case in the case of coming together federation. Okay, now we move on to the next point. State autonomy. States are very strong and independent in relation to the federal government. It is not that they all have to follow everything which the central government is saying, as they are very strong and independent. They retain their sovereignty and they retain their identity. Whereas in case of holding together federation like India and Belgium, power is often unequal and some units may have special powers as I had earlier explained to you. Okay. Now, examples of coming together versus holding together federation are, example is USA, Switzerland and Australia. Whereas in holding together federation, we have India, Spain and Belgium. Now children, in the board examination, it can come as a 2 marks, as a 3 marks and as a 5 marks question. So you can refer to this particular table for writing your answer. I'll just quickly share I'll just stop the share and I'll come back again to your lesson and we will look at the textbook text also. Okay, now let me just share your textbook one more time here. So here it is clearly explained what is a coming together and holding together federation is. It's mentioned the exact balance of power between the central and the state government varies from one federation to another, which I have just now explained. This balance depends mainly on the historical context in which the federation was formed. Now, what it means is all countries have a different past. The people have made their own choices. They have their own principles, their own value systems are there, and based on that, they have devised their political systems. So that is why all countries are not having same kind of political system. For example, India is a multi-party country, whereas America is a two-party, United Kingdom is a two-party. Political parties are only two. We have learned that in the previous lesson. Germany, two-party country, right? So where the people have no other choice, only two parties are there and they have to choose either vote for one party or the other. Whereas India is a multi-party system depending upon the kind of people we are. We are a very diverse people, and that is why we have chosen a multi-party system in our country, right? So politically, these countries are different, and that is why the context of the way they are developing their federalism is also bit different. So here we have two main types of federalism, which I have just now explained. There are two kinds of routes through which federations have been formed. The first route involves independent states coming together on their own to form a bigger unit, so that by pooling sovereignty and retaining identity, they can increase their security. So these points are covered in the table. This type of coming together federation include USA, Switzerland, and Australia. I have covered this also. In this first category of federation, all constituent states usually have equal power and are strong, and namely vis-a-vis federal government. Okay. Now the second form of federation is like India. The second route is where a large country decides to divide its power between constituent states and national government. India, Spain, and Belgium are examples of this kind of holding together federations. In this category, the central government tends to be more powerful than the states. Okay, very often different constituent units of a federation have unequal powers. I have already explained this with the example of India, that for example, the seven sister states, the state of Maharashtra, and one or two states have some specific special powers which others are not having, as per Article 371, which we will be covering in the next part of the lesson. Some units are granted special power. So this is the main difference between the holding together and a coming together federation. Now let us look at these questions, and I will stop here only. I will cover this particular video is only for explanation on coming together and holding together federations only. Some Nepalese citizens were discussing the proposals on the adoption of federalism in their new constitution. This is what some of them said. Children, in the previous class also we learned that in Nepal the earlier constitution has been, they have redrafted their constitution. Earlier the constitution was there, but it was not satisfactory, so they redrafted their constitution a couple of times. Okay, so now here we have an example wherein these children, four students, they are talking to each other. Four people are talking to each other about the features of whether federalism is good for their country or not. Let us look at these questions, and then I'll give you the answers to which of them is the which one of them is the right response. Okay. First person says, when they hear about Nepal becoming a federal country, Khagraj says, I don't like federalism. It would lead to reservation of seats for different caste groups as in India. Now, children, to answer this question, this statement is not correct. This is not a clear definition of federalism. It shows lack of understanding of federalism, because federalism doesn't mean that reservation is required. All countries have to make their own choices. If India has reservation of seats, being for the local government, if we are doing that for the community, for the upliftment of community, it is not necessary that Nepal government has to do it. It is in the hands of the people. They have to decide whether they would like to give reservations or not. It's their own choice. For example, in America, it is also a coming together federation. Over there, there is no policy of reservation. So it is entirely the choice of the country whether they'd like to form a community government, a third tier of government, and give them the reservations also. Like in Belgium, they decided to make a community government to resolve the conflicts between the Dutch and the French communities, right? Second opinion has been given by Sarita. She says, ours is not a big country. We don't need federalism. So again, this question I have already answered. This statement is again wrong. Because conflicts are everywhere in our society, it does not mean that only big countries have conflicts. Conflicts are everywhere. So whether a country is small or whether a country is big, federalism will facilitate equality in the society. If a country is federal, it will lead to delegation and division of power, and eventually it will lead to accommodation of diversity. And when there is accommodation of diversity, it will serve the dual objective of federalism, that is to keep the country united and for the development of the country. Then we have Babulal. He says, I'm hopeful that the Terai areas will get more autonomy if they get their own state government. Yes, this statement is absolutely correct. If Nepal becomes federal and states are formed and they are given their own powers, the people will have better choices and they will make better decisions because they are living over there. Isn't that so? So this is a correct statement. As federal system is the one wherein the power from the central government is given to the state government. So when people are given their own power, how to manage their affairs, how to manage their finances, then it is better done because the control will be in the hands of the people themselves. So they will decide it. It will not be the central government which will decide. Okay. So Babulal's statements is correct. Ram Ganesh says, I like federalism because it will mean that powers that were earlier enjoyed by the king will now be exercised by our elected representatives. Okay. So again, this is a very correct statement. Now, earlier it was the king, he was deciding everything for everyone. But now there will be voting, there will be elections, and now powers from the king will be taken and it will be exercised by the elected representatives, and there will be sharing and division of power, and it will lead to accommodation of diversity, equal rights for everyone, equal fundamental rights being enjoyed by all people of all the diverse group living in Nepal, and eventually it will unite the country because the country will start prospering. Okay, so children, as the questions given over here, if you were participating in this conversation, what would be your response to each of these? Which of these reflect a wrong understanding of federalism? Okay, what makes India a federal country? So children, I have answered the first two questions. Now the next question about what makes India a federal country, I have partially answered this question also. India has been a federal country, though we are not declaring India as a federal country in our preamble. In our preamble, we define India as a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, but we don't mention the word federal. We don't need to mention federal because India, right from the ancient period, we have been following a federal system and a democratic system. Okay, we have learned this in the 9th grade also, how there are so many things we have taken from our own culture and past and from our people. India being a diverse country, we had right from the ancient period this idea and concept of gram and gaon and the system of panchayats, right? So deliberation, discussion, voting has been a part of the Indian culture. So India is a federal country right from independence because we had the central, state, and local government was there. But later on, after few years, it was realized that we need to take some powers and give to the state and the local government in the villages in the Panchayati Raj system, and in the towns it is the municipal corporation system. So this was finally came into existence with a policy of decentralization in 1992. But it does not mean that India was not federal. India has always been a federal country because we had a culture of deliberation and discussion, and we always had a culture of following the principles and features and values of democracy. Now, this topic, children, I will be covering in the next lecture, which I will be sharing you again as a video. Okay, we have completed the portion for EVA 1 with the end of this particular video. Thank you so much.